There's something that happens in everyday life that most people don't really notice. It's not a big decision, it's not a crisis. It's the small moment where something is asked of you, and before you've even really checked in with yourself, you've already answered. Perhaps it was saying yes when you didn't really mean it. Perhaps that is your go to response. But what if, instead of automatically saying yes, you interrupted the pattern? You paused and asked yourself, do I really want this? When you do this, you start to change your life because with every yes you agree to, you are creating your life. Our life is being created with every minute of our day. We don't see it because we're often busy, living on autopilot just to get through the day. But not anymore. It's time to interrupt the pattern and start choosing you and what you want for your life. Your happy life. Come on in. It's time to choose happy. Wherever you are, whatever kind of day you're having, this is your reminder. You have a choice. If you're ready to break free from self-doubt and negative thinking, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Marie, and this is the Choose Happy with Marie podcast. Welcome. Hello, how are you? I hope you're doing well. I'm good. I'm enjoying the weather, the nice weather as it comes along, although we've been getting a lot of rain where we are, so I'm enjoying every sunny day when it does come up. I want to talk about something that's kind of ordinary today because self-trust, which is what I've been talking about on the show lately, doesn't usually show up in big breakthrough moments where everything suddenly makes sense. It actually shows up in the middle of an ordinary day. When you're just living your life, you're working, responding to emails, moving from one task to the next. And most of us don't realize how many micro decisions we make that is inside this rhythm of our everyday life. They're not big life decisions, everyday decisions. The way you answer someone, the way you say yes before you've even had a second to feel your own energy, the way you keep things smooth without really checking in with yourself. And over time, those moments start shaping something you can feel, but not always name. It's a bit of a kind of a distance, and it's happening between you and yourself. Let me share an everyday example. For example, you're working, you're focused, trying to get something done, and someone walks over and asks if you can take something on. It's quick, casual, won't take you too long, nothing dramatic. And before you've even really checked in on the capacity that you have to do this, you hear yourself say yes. Or another example, you're getting ready in the morning, already thinking about everything you need to do that day. And someone in your family suggests adding one more thing. And you agree almost automatically. Sound familiar? Maybe you're on a call and someone asks what works for you. That's the best, right? What works for you? And instead of checking in with yourself for a second, because you're busy, your mind's all over the place, you just choose the option that keeps things easy. Easy perhaps for them, but not for you. And then there's another one that's so common, it almost doesn't register in the moment. You take your lunch break. If you take your lunch break. I know many of you are working very hard. Well, let's say you take your lunch break. You actually need a break, not just from work, but from input, from people, from thinking. And it's good to take our lunch breaks. As I've gotten older, I take them every day. and you're about to take that time for yourself. You're thinking, oh, I'm going to go for a walk, maybe listen to this podcast, maybe just sit quietly, just to reset and enjoy the moment and be with yourself. And someone says, are you coming with us? Or can I come with you? And you hesitate for like half a second because part of you knows what you need, but it's easier to just say yes. It's easier than explaining why you want time for yourself. It's easier than disappointing the person. So you go and you're there, but you don't really get what you needed from that break. None of these moments feel like decisions. They feel like being helpful, being kind, being flexible, being someone who makes things easy for other people. But later, when you have to go back to your desk, there's often this subtle feeling like you've stretched a little too far, or like you didn't quite give yourself what you actually needed. You needed a break. Not dramatically, but just enough to notice that you needed something. But yet again, you put someone else's needs ahead of yours. I get that. I've done it so often, and sometimes I find myself doing that. I do catch myself as well. What starts to change when you start noticing that you start doing this? Because that's where it starts, right? Everything that can change needs to start with awareness. Something very quiet starts to happen. It's subtle. It's not all at once, so don't think you're going to have a breakthrough moment, Marie, although it can be. The awareness is the breakthrough moment. But it's going to be in a way that you can't fully point to, but you start to notice a gap. This gap is a tiny pause before the automatic yes. It might only be a second or a millisecond, but it's something new. It's something new in your life. And in that second, something different becomes available to you. Not pressure. I don't want you to do any more overthinking. Just a simple sense of saying to yourself, hang on, do I actually want this? Without guilt, without people pleasing. And sometimes the answer is still yes, but something about it changes because now you didn't disappear from the decision. You stayed with yourself long enough to be part of it. And I want to pause here because this is where coaching really becomes something different. It's not in theory, not necessarily understanding yourself more, although that is helpful and you do get that through coaching with the right coaching, but in what it actually feels like when your life is happening. Because most women that I meet with, they don't need more insight into this pattern. You already see it. You already know what you should be doing. It's that you don't understand yet, that's one of my favorite words, yet now, the idea of pausing, of becoming aware, knowing that you can take a pause, you can check in with yourself, and you can choose differently. But knowing it and being in the moment are two very different things. Because the moment it actually is happening, often there's usually no space to think your way through it. Think of a time when this happened just recently where you didn't have the chance to respond in the way that you wanted to respond. Someone's asking you for something. There's pressure to respond. And it feels easier to keep things moving than to stop and check in with yourself. That's where the pattern lives. It's not in understanding it in that exact moment. It's actually going into play and choosing differently. I was working with a client recently who she found herself right there. Someone asked her to take something on. It wasn't anything big, just something that would quietly add to her already full day. And she felt it immediately, that familiar shift into yes, where she said, I can make it work. I'll figure it out. Not because she truly wanted to say yes, but because it was faster than stopping. It was faster than checking in with herself. It was faster than staying with herself long enough to feel what was actually true. And what she noticed wasn't just the pattern happening again. It was how quickly it happened, how she was already in the yes before she even realized that there is another option. And she saw that when we worked together and we reviewed the situation clearly, she realized, oh, Marie, I left myself again before I even noticed. Once she had that realization, you can't go back. When you start realizing you did it again, the next time it will happen, you'll find yourself pausing because something starts to change. In her case, she didn't become a different person. And it wasn't just because she suddenly stopped saying yes, but because she started to see herself in the moment it was happening. It didn't happen after the moment or later while she was, in bed thinking about it. Right there, right there. And in the next interaction she had where she had that situation, she stopped herself. She chose herself and really thought what she really needed and wanted. And what happened there? I believe she said yes, but when she said yes, she was all in with her yes. And that's what we want. We want to be actively involved in our life. When you're in a place where you're not living on automatic, you're on that hamster wheel, there's a choice. Every time we're asked if we want to participate in something, that's a choice. But we may not have seen that before. It may not have become visible because you're just automatic and the people-pleasing tendencies come in because you don't want to upset anybody. But now, in the case of her and you, when you start becoming aware and you start actively be involved in your life, you're no longer fully absent from the decision. You're really not. You're actively creating your happy life. The coaching space gives you a space to talk things out without guilt, apology, or trying to meet any other family, friends' obligations for you. Working with me, it's not advice. It's not strategy. It's not someone telling you what to do differently. You already have people in your life who already do that for you. It's having space long enough to notice what's actually happening inside you. Someone to reflect with. Someone to teach you how you can catch yourself in that moment, where you can ask yourself, what do I actually want here? And then you respond from there. And perhaps it's different than what you would have said in the past, and maybe not, but you'll be actively involved in your life. This is really what coaching becomes when we do this work. It's not about fixing you. It's not teaching you how to do your life better, but working alongside with you in the exact moments where you would normally override yourself. And learning how to stay with yourself just a little longer than you used to. That's it. That's the shift. It's a powerful one. So if you want something simple to try this week, keep it very small. In any moment where something is being asked of you, pause for one extra breath before you respond. Turn around, look at something else, try to delay however you can. You're not figuring anything out or analyzing the answer. You're just checking in with yourself and asking yourself, do I really want this? You'll start to notice the difference between reacting automatically and actually choosing. And this is exactly the kind of thing I support women with in coaching. Not through more information, but by helping you stay present in those real life moments where you usually move too quickly past yourself. So instead of only noticing it afterwards, you actually will learn how to start noticing it while it's happening. If that feels supportive to you, you can find the link for an application to work with me in a coaching capacity in the show notes. No pressure, just an invitation. For those of you who are on my email list, I will send you the link in this week's email. Because choosing yourself isn't usually a big moment. It's the moment you don't rush past yourself. And it happens in everyday moments. And over time, those small moments start to change how your life feels. Not all at once, but just in a way you can feel. And every time you choose differently, you're choosing your happy life. Wishing you a wonderful week. Take care. Cheers. Thanks for listening to Choose Happy with Marie. If today's episode spoke to you, I would love it if you could share it with a friend or leave a quick review for the show. It helps more women find this kind of support. Remember, you don't have to overhaul your life to start feeling better. You just have to choose happy right where you are, one choose happy choice at a time. I'll see you next time. Take care.